Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. So for my birthday, the best gift my dad could give me was helping me to sand my floors. And one of the reasons why I fell in love with this flat originally is because it had the original floorboards. Now they weren't in a terrible condition, but they weren't great either. And originally I had a quote of £750 to do this room, and the equivalent quote for doing the second bedroom that I also ended up doing would have been about £500. And I managed to do both rooms for way under that 1,200 quote. In fact, the total cost was just under £400. So this video should hopefully show you how I did it. I had to rope in another pair of hands, of course, so I'm not going to take all the credit, but just to give you a few pointers on what to do, what I found helpful. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Just a little thing off the floor before, the sanders. Here's where they actually tried it out, and you can see already. I did that was really uber useful is I actually used a more local floor sanding company, and it meant that actually I could go into the shop and speak to someone about what I wanted to do. When they delivered the sanders, we got a proper demonstration and showing what to do, but also they were really good for recommending products. They gave me some tips on how to sand this floor. And yeah, they were even so good that my dad managed to charm them, so they chucked in an extra half a day for us to have the sanders, and we managed to negotiate on price. So if you're on a budget, that is something worth doing, and you're supporting a local business and not a chain. Today we are sanding. Hello. Before you kind of do everything and you're doing your research is prepare that floor. There is no way around this. Make sure you do it. It will save you a world of pain in the end. And so one of my main jobs was wiping the floor, cleaning the floor. I went round and I inspected every floorboard to ensure nothing was loose, there were no gaps, there was no damp, which is something I discovered when doing the master bedroom. And yeah, just take out any potential hazards from the room, clean the space, make sure it's nice and good. You might also want to take a look at the nails that are in your floorboards, because you don't want them to be high and visible above the floorboard. You want them to be sort of sitting in your floorboard, because if not, the sand is going to go across them and you don't want to hear that sound because you've potentially broken yourself or the sander. So just that off first blunder, or two blunders in one. So Dad managed to hit the wall with the sander, and the side of the door frame is cracked, so you can't open the living room door now. And then also he managed, in the same 5-minute period when I stepped out, also managed to sand over the edge sanders extension lead. So I'm gonna get fined for that, but it is what it is, and this should still hopefully be cheaper than getting someone to do that one room, but it is what it is. You win some, you lose some. So another tip is to just step back and inspect what you've done as you do it. So you want to sand the floor for a bit and make sure you're doing it evenly. So it might be that you go across the room once and then you check that you're happy, And that way you just make sure you're doing it evenly, but it's such a tiring job. It's very intense, it's very noisy, so it's best to do bits at a time, and rope in somebody else to help you if you can, because those sanding machines are not cute and they're not light, okay? They're not light at all, it's hard work. So another tip is to keep track of what sandpapers you're using, and this works twofold. The first one is because the way I did it was on a consignment basis. That means I put a deposit down with the company and then they basically just charged me for whatever I use, which actually was a great system because I didn't feel like, oh, I was going to run out, and there was plenty of sandpaper. In fact, almost too much sandpaper. So we started off with a 24, and then we went up to, I think, a 60, an 80, and then a 120. Now you don't have to use all the sandpapers because there is so much sandpaper, and also that's going to cost you money, but you do have to have a think about going from coarse to fine in a measured manner, shall we say. So that's something to think about. And yeah, you don't need to use all the types of paper, but it is better to start off with a coarse one depending on how finished your floorboards are. Actually, I found that the coarse took off a lot of stuff, and then the fine stuff was just to smooth it out and make it look really ship-shape. About the finish of the floors. So I never thought about what would happen when the floors became so lovely, beautiful and soft, and actually I've used 2 different treatments on these floors. So you're only going to see the living room floor for now, but I can do a video on the bedroom floor so you can see that was a slightly different process because the floorboards were in a much worse state. But the results are like night and day. So the finish I've used here, I used a primer and a lacquer coat. Now, the one I went for was actually the extra matte, but extra matte in the world of floors mean it's like just 20% sheen. So there's still a bit of sheen, it still has that wetness look, but it's not as bright or shiny. I didn't want a shiny floor, I wanted it to look sort of natural. The one thing I would say is that you do have that wet look, so you do get that oranginess in the wood. But I actually was a fan of that in this room, and that's the kind of vibe I wanted in this room. So those are my tips for sanding your floorboards.
old song from our school reunion.
From your school? What, as in it came out, sorry, when
You
were
see
at school?
that? You see that? That is my
Oh, is
old
that,
school.
you said you was, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
what you were
that's my
talking
old
about.
school. So that's all the music. That's
I
all
like the song though.
That's
Play it again.
old music. All this old music that you hear in there. It's on my old school.
Andy Kim.
Everybody.
Who's
Yeah,
that?
I don't know.
I like the song.
Yeah, that's the song that's playing.